Welcome to The Authority File, the podcast that features conversations about the life cycle of scholarly communication. I'm Bill Mickey, your host and the editorial director at Choice. In this 4-episode series, which is generously underwritten by Springer Nature, we're discussing the important role that the humanities and social sciences play in the development, use, and policy guidance of artificial intelligence in mainstream society. As we begin to experience AI's transformation of the research workflow, it will be the humanities that influence its responsible use. Joining me to talk this through is Anil Chandy, Vice President of Humanities, Social Sciences Books, and Focus Projects at Springer Nature, and Managing Director of Springer Nature's Singapore office. But before we get started, if you want to keep up on the latest programming from the Authority File, you can subscribe to our monthly newsletter for information on the current and previous month's episodes. To subscribe, simply visit choice360.org, click on the newsletter sign-up banner in the top right corner, and select the podcast updates option. While you're there, you can also sign up for other newsletters published by Choice. In this final episode of this 4-part series, we take a look ahead at the potential for using AI to stress test, so to speak, the scholarly communications workflow. We also look at how academic library missions intersect with the development of AI tech and how disciplines such as political science, international relations, and law are influencing its use. So you mentioned in a previous call, in a previous discussion that we had, that LLMs bring us closer to the research process, even testing steps of the scholarly communication life cycle for ethical practices. Can you expand on that? How might AI tools reveal pain points or the need for more human-centered research?
LLMs will certainly force us to re-examine how research is done.
Mm-hmm.
This is how I would look at it. This could be as simple as highlighting gaps, for instance, like how long it takes to summarize something, or how hard is it to identify relevant literature, to perhaps leading to more sort of advanced method. Larger and larger data sets can be studied based on the capability of the models to undertake even deeper research. These developments are definitely going to be there. In humanities, social sciences research in particular, there is a prize on human creativity, right? That complements all of the social sciences and humanities research methods. And for the foreseeable future, this will continue to be the measure for originality. But I expect even creative processes will not be immune to how AI develops, because artificial general intelligence is an area or a domain where our big tech companies are investing quite a lot, smaller companies as well. And its ability to supplement these processes by an order of magnitude can lead to, say, wider, broader, and deeper understanding of certain topics and their study. By interacting with these tools, we get a clearer view of the research journey itself and where scholars probably need more support. They expose also pain points, but also, I would say, opportunities for innovation. So there is going to be fundamentally a change in the way research is conducted, understood, interpreted, and also published, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Excellent. Okay. So we talked a little bit about the librarian's role in AI regulation in a previous episode. How does the academic library's mission of accessible information, diverse research, and critical thinking intersect with shaping AI technology? I mean, do you see a through line between the goals of the library and HSS subjects?
Yeah, academic libraries, by their very nature, champion equitable access to information.
Mm-hmm.
And they are obviously based in universities.
Yeah.
So they are also very high trust institutions. That's how I would characterize them. Everyone goes to the library to be guided, to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And that also brings in a responsibility of, and also shaped by trust. And that's something that's not going to change. The impact that AI will have on education and research in general, therefore, will cascade into the function of libraries. LLMs and artificial intelligence can aid across a wide array of service delivery that the libraries currently perform, including, of course, providing overall guidance for ethical and fair uses, or shaping that, collection development management, the services that libraries typically provide, or reference services, virtual ones, or digital information services, discovery, research, writing and publishing, performance analysis, or even sort of bibliometric services. It can be helpful for libraries to meet other patron requirements also, and support to streamline the research process and increase the efficiency of the ecosystem, the library, the staff, and the needs of the patrons in terms of understanding and accessing the knowledge they want as a whole, more equitably and faster. So their expertise, libraries have a lot of expertise in information sciences and metadata and digital preservation positions. They help them play a very sort of pivotal role in guiding ethical AI integration in academic research. I would see their position as fairly central in terms of not just guiding conversations, but also guiding academic norms and, as we said earlier, research processes going forward.
Yeah, they are. They're in a very advantageous position because they're like currently, I think they're very, very focused on AI literacy and making sure that students and researchers alike are understanding how to use AI most effectively and ethically. So they're kind of right there at the beginning for a lot of their constituents and library community. So they're helping them from the start, which is
Yeah.
a good
Yeah.
position to be in.
Yes. Bill, you also mentioned how social sciences, I think politics and other subjects are sort of approaching it, I think. I mean, was part of your question. And yeah, I would again go back to saying that there will be implications on how with AI on, say, governance or on international norms and obviously legal frameworks also. I mean, so there will be, of course, potential and also things that we need to learn about and understand better in terms of how public policy is guided in these fields. And social sciences, I would say, has an extremely important central role to play in this, in terms of how it can help shape those conversations here. And that's where the field is, and we are in very exciting times.
Yes, indeed. Okay, so how are disciplines like political science and international relations and law approaching this technology? It seems to me like politics and global legislation will play a major role in any sort of consistent, uniform policies on AI.
Yeah, I think each one will approach it from the area that it is essentially, or rather the specificities of the domain. Politics and international relations, most of the studies that we see are to an extent looking at things such as modeling, for instance, and international relations, for instance. We of course deal with a lot of data sets there, or in the area of politics, there is also ethical frameworks, governance norms, so international norms. They also sort of seep into developing legal frameworks also. I mean, legal frameworks are also sort of is an interesting area because, on the one hand, AI means that you have to develop specifically new legal frameworks to sort of encompass the arrival of this new technology. But at the same time, you can actually deploy the technology to develop that as well, and again process large bodies of knowledge in terms of arriving at whatever framework that you want to develop. I think the key thing that many legal scholars, and there are some prominent ones who are looking into these subjects mostly from an ethical point of view, and also in terms of shaping governance and other details, is that don't think in the short term. We have to think essentially keeping society at the center. These are still tools. These are still technologies that have been developed. Fundamentally, at least when we started developing it, we had supporting humankind in mind for these technologies. They need to stay that way. So that would be the guiding principle for most regulations as well. And politics or law are all subject areas that very much develop the sort of framework and the governance mechanisms around which things are actually regulated or guidelined. So that's where I would say that the scholarship also leads to in the coming years.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, well, Anil, that's all the time we had. Thank you so much for joining us on this program.
Thank you very much, Bill.
You just heard from Anil Chandy, Vice President of Humanities, Social Sciences Books and Focus Projects at Springer Nature and Managing Director of Springer Nature's Singapore office. This series is underwritten with generous support from Springer Nature. Remember, if you want to keep up on the latest programming from the Authority File, you can subscribe to our monthly newsletter for information on the current and previous month's episode. To subscribe, simply visit choice360.org, click on the newsletter sign-up banner in the top right corner, and select the Choice Podcast Updates option. While you're there, you can also sign up for other newsletters published by Choice. As always, underwriting opportunities for the Authority File podcast are directed by Choice's advertising director, Pam Marino, and all of our episodes are produced and edited by Choice's digital media producer, Sabrina Kofer, with support from digital media assistant Ashley Roy. That's all for this week. Thanks for joining us.